Seven Stages Podcast. 3, 2, 1. I am Jam Boom Boom.
Coco Chanel.
And we are Seven Stages Podcast. Thank you so much.
All right, you all. Thank you for tuning in. We're just going to jump right on in this evening. So, go
we
ahead.
are blessed and fortunate, but we'll never be less, to see another theater show.
Yeah.
Another performance at Johns Hopkins University, and
Yes.
the show is called The Cherry Orchard.
Yeah.
Written by the one and only Anton Chekhov. And special shout out to Michael Vincent for gifting us these tickets.
Mm-hmm. And so we agreed that we knew nothing about the performance, and we decided we would actually all learn together. So we looked up some information. So here we go.
Yes, on Spark Notes, via Spark Notes.
Via Spark Notes. And
All
I know
right.
some of you high schoolers know all about that.
So, Coco, what is the Cherry Orchard? What is this?
So this is what they say the Cherry Orchard is. The play begins in the pre-dawn hours of a May morning in Russia.
All right, spring.
Period.
Mm-hmm.
We learned that the cherry trees are in bloom, even though it is frosty outside. Yermolay Lopkin, a friend of the family, and Danasha, a maid on the Renovitsky estate, wait for the estate's owner, Renovitsky, at the estate's main house, in a room called the nursery.
Okay.
Lopkin reveals that Renovitsky has been in Paris for the past 5 years. Lopkin is a local businessman in his mid-30s, dressed in a fine white suit with a gaudy yellow... Why do we... first of all...
What's that?
Why do we need to know all this in gaudy yellow shoes?
Maybe it comes up later. Maybe he spilled something on his shoes.
Okay, all right. Whose feelings toward Renovitsky are mixed between affectionate gratitude for past kindnesses, all right, and resentment at her condescension toward him because of his humble peasant origins. Also on the estate is Simon, a name I am not going to try to pronounce.
It's Russian.
It is Russian.
It's very Russian.
A hapless youth nicknamed Simple Simon because of his frequent and ridiculous accidents.
Okay, we're dealing with a lot, so I'm getting very much plantation, very rich man, and then the people, maybe indentured servants who work on the estate, the plantation, the farm, whatever. It's giving class.
And it's giving a breach in it. Something is happening. There's a cross mingling that maybe is not looked well upon.
It's frosty outside, meaning that this is maybe a colder than usual May. It's like, the cherry trees, they're supposed to be blooming, but it's a little cold outside. So we're dealing with some shift, some change, some like, this ain't the usual typical thing.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
What you getting?
I want to know why we need to know about the yellow shoes. Now we gotta see the yellow shoes.
Right, dressed in a fine white suit with gaudy. Isn't gaudy like
over the top?
Right. Okay.
Over the top.
Anything? That's the full play summary.
Oh no, it's not.
Oh, it's a lot.
Oh, get out of here! Is this a summary?
Can we look up like a synopsis? I wonder what year it's set
in. 1903.
Okay.
1904.
Oh wow. Yeah. All right. Okay. All right.
Okay.
So we're getting old. We're getting like 1903. Same situations though, because people were rich and people weren't. Working class, and then people were aristocratic.
Maybe we'll find out what's going on in Russia during that time. That makes things significant.
Yes. At 8 o'clock. That's what time the show is.
Okay. 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
All right. What are you expecting? What are you expecting from the good old Cherry Orchard? Not just from the play itself, but also
like the environment, the set,
and the cast. Johns Hopkins.
I'm curious to know, which I think I can answer this. How close to naturalism is this set going to be? Mm-hmm. If it's all set, it's not all set in this nursery, is it? That would be interesting.
Yeah. If
it's all set.
Yeah.
If it's mostly set in the nursery. Mm-hmm. I'm curious to know what are the indicators of the climate. Is there going to be symbolism for the tree or trees?
Oh, for sure.
And how will they show that? Is lighting going to contribute to that in a way? And anything, I wanted to see if there's like any abstract symbolism that maybe they were thrown in there that doesn't align with naturalism.
Okay.
Like play with it, because this seems like during this time of writing, like look at all this, like this is definitely giving naturalism.
I'm already seeing like different seasons. I saw spring, then I saw summer, then I saw fall. So we're definitely moving through time. And what happens over time. I'm interested to see the conflict.
Yeah.
And I just know, and shout out to Michael Vincent, the star of every Johns Hopkins University show.
And he's going to hate that we said that.
He's going to hate it, but it's the absolute truth. He's too humble. I'm excited to see what the set looks like. It's a fun space to be in.
Yeah, the set's going to be lit.
It's a fun space to sit and to be in. And they're not afraid to tackle the classics. They did what?
The Glass Menagerie.
The Glass Menagerie, Tennessee Williams, last year. Yep. And now they're taking on another titan. The Cherry Orchard.
This is a very popular play, and I would imagine it's going to be a packed house.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah, I'm interested. This is, like, why are things considered the classics? As an up-and-coming playwright myself, let me get into frame.
Get into the frame. Let the people see.
As an up-and-coming playwright myself, I like to question and be skeptical of what makes classics classics. Like, why do we study certain playwrights, just so I can learn from them, apply some of what makes them so great into my plays, but then also what canon, how are we specifically viewing these plays, and usually has a lot to do with the location, like the country, the time that it was made. So just, like the conflict that was going on globally, nationally, and we usually revere those types of things because it speaks to that time. I think I just answered my own question.
And if I could add on to that, the people, right? It's something about what the people desire, or the majority of people maybe come up to the conclusion, like, this is something that we can stand behind. This is something that we like, or we want to see, or we want to see more of.
After the fact?
That's a good question.
Just to think.
Certainly after
Chekhov wrote the play. Later on, we.
Yeah, because classics, I think it's a conversation that we had too, when we're like, when is a classic deemed a classic? And some of the time we were realizing, like, it wasn't a classic maybe during the time in which it was, produced.
Right.
It became a classic maybe 15 or 20 years after that, as it resonated, maybe as wars came and all of that. So I think that's how things become timeless. I mean, when I think classic, I think timeless.
Okay.
And maybe there's like those underlying like fables or principles or philosophies that can be applied to different things. That isn't just in one specific or tailored to one specific culture that you can pull from. So a classic, like what are we deeming? Like we would say, okay, well, what is a classic of today?
Hamilton,
yeah.
Classics.
Yeah.
Slave Play. I never saw it, but that got a lot of.
Did it?
Maybe not a classic. It just got a lot of press. See now we get into
yeah.
All I know is this: what Jam Boom Boom creates today will be considered a classic. But I want to be the one in charge of saying what makes this the classic. Maybe my aspirations are too.
No, I mean they say if you shoot for something and then you land on the star. So
yep, and that's what we're about to do. Okay, we got about 10 seconds left to be 10 minutes, but we can make it another minute and end with a round of Zip Zap Zop.
We certainly can.
Let's do that. Okay, well, tonight it's going down. Johns Hopkins University. Thank you to Michael Vincent for sponsoring our tickets.
We appreciate you.
Yes, to The Cherry Orchard, written by Anton Chekhov, starring Michael Vincent, only at Johns Hopkins University, 7 stages. And you know how we do. We're about to end with a round of Zip Zap Zop. You ready?
I'm ready.
Take a deep breath in. Let's breathe together. Let's breathe in any expectations that we're going to win, and breathe out the reality that Jam is going to win.
So he'll be breathing on his own for that one.
You ready?
Ready.
Zip.
Zap.
Zop.
Zip.
Zap.
Zap.
All right, that's one win in the bag. We got about 20 seconds left. You ready?
Okay. Zip.
Zip.
Zap.
Zop.
Zip.
Zap.
Zap. Damn!
Should I go for 3? Jam, boom, boom.
I just want to say that he has an advantage because he has been doing this for a long time.
I have a degree in Zip Zap Zop.
He has a degree in Zip Zap Zop.
And with that, we're going to end. Bang!
We are back.
7 Stages is back. We just saw The Cherry Orchard, directed by James Glossman.
And this is my first time seeing any of his work. So excited. And his energy is just everything
Yeah.
You know, he gave us a nice intro into the performance. All right, I guess we're cutting right on in. We're going in?
Yeah, let's go in. First impressions, everything.
Oh, man, you know, I really like to see the director if I get the opportunity to. I really enjoy seeing the director and seeing their work put on stage. So I really enjoy his intro into what he expected from us. This was the first time that I've had a director say, turn your phones all the way off.
Yeah.
Right? And I can see how that could be like a little era for some people. He was like, basically some of the sounds could like make the actors do things you wouldn't want them to do or something like that, or you wouldn't want to see. I was like, oh, okay. But nevertheless, being very intentional about how he wanted to craft the show, which reminded me of Gavin's class about when does the performance start.
Yeah. The performance started, and then Michael Vincent, who was the scenic and sound designer, he said that when we walked in, we noticed to the lobby of the theater, which is an actual barn, there were cherry orchards along the border.
Yeah.
The first thing they drooped over, you couldn't miss them. And so Michael Vincent said that, like, when thinking about designing the show, when does the show start? And it started right in the damn lobby. Actually, it started a little bit earlier when we went out. But let's keep it about the theater.
Well, we can even say it started with us taking pictures in front of the sign.
Yes.
Right? Like getting that experience and really, you know, setting ourselves up for the production, I think is really great.
Yeah.
When I walked in and saw the cherry orchards, I said, wow, Michael.
Because we knew it was Michael. We knew it was Michael's idea. Like, come on.
But when he reminded me of what Gavin said, because actually it was him that reminded me of what Gavin said about when does the show actually start versus, you know, the production or the storyline itself, and creating that space and being intentional about that, I think is really important for a production. And so it's just a nugget.
Yeah, and then how Glossman went about when does the show start, or how to even start the show. That quote directly from Anton Chekhov, R.I.P., like saying he completely ruined my show in reference to when Stanislavski produced it like 100 years ago. Yeah. So from our synopsis and just from my knowing of like formal or traditional or classic theater, I thought it was going to be a dry ass show. I thought it was going to be like serious and like gut-wrenching performances, but even in the program before the show started, no, this is a comedy.
And if you all, you know, remember in the episode or earlier on in the episode how we kind of came up with our own idea of what we thought it was going to be.
Wrong.
I don't think it was that at all. And I'm so excited to know that wasn't it at all, that we got to get a totally different experience. And it was funny and it was fast. The pace of it was fast and it did not slow down. No, it did not slow down. No. And I enjoyed that. And I think I enjoy it because people say that I talk fast. And I don't think I talk all that fast, but they say that I do. My daddy says, he used to say that I talk really fast. But I interpret information sometimes that way. And so it added to the drama. Like if you see how they were performing, it added to the entire performance through their bodies.
They were so heightened. Everything was heightened, especially physicality. That's how I know, like, all right, don't take this play too seriously, because they're doing the grand gestures. They're like singing when they talk. The monologues happen very frequently too. That's another way I know, like, not to take something too seriously. Like, no, they're really playing into making us laugh. Yeah. And their understanding of the times that the play is taking place is no different than the times that we're in. That using a farce to understand the times that we are in helps me to understand the times that we are in, if that makes sense. Like, I didn't understand the urgency of living in a shifting wartime era until I saw someone make fun of it, like a parody of it, or a parody of what's going on, because it's given to us as if it's like so serious. Oh, the world is changing. People are coming in, the working class, they're revolt. Like, I didn't get it until it was funny. And so I'm thankful for Anton Chekhov and for people to be able to take such harsh experiences and to write about how funny it could be. And in a lot of ways informing what it is that's going on in politics, what it is that's going on in business. I'm not from those spheres. So it was a really good connector for me to like laugh at these very serious like connotations of, oh, we're about to lose our house in the auction. Or, oh, I'm just a working class peasant, worker, farmer, but I want to move to Paris. I have aspirations. I have dreams. It's like, wait a second, where have I heard that before? So it's like making that connection in real time. I appreciate it. How then the director interpreted that and to invite us to laugh. Invite us to interrogate. Okay, how are we dealing with changing times right now in the 20s all over again. It's the roaring 20s again. So that's that connection with theater that I was saying before. I'm seeing how it clicks, where it's like, not we're just going to go to see a show in one isolated arena, theater, playhouse. We're going to go see a show, and it's going to connect to the times that we're in. Because like this play was written 120 years ago, and I'm still seeing how it can be applied right now.
I think what I'm hearing that is sticking out for me is how you relate to the information based on how it's delivered. And that's going to look different for many people. Like you said, you were able to connect with the story because it's a farce. Or it was, a farce. For me, I was able to connect to it because of the commonalities of each of the time era. Like I liked the time era, and I'm very interested in how people think when they're going through something, or when they or how it's portrayed, or how the playwright puts it on, because I appreciate how the play was written. It was probably written for a particular group, but I think that once we can strip that idea and really take the elements and nuggets from the intention of what the play means, talking about scholars and working class people and servants, and questioning, well, what is freedom, and there was a part in the play where Pierce, I think, was the character, and like you said, it's a turn of the century, and so they're talking about how the emancipation of the serfs, and listening to that monologue really challenged what freedom is, and that it means nothing. Just that the idea that the master belongs to the servant and the servant belongs to the master. Just that perspective.
Oh man,
not really ever hearing it like that before, and not having to agree, but really loving to hear that, and it being humanized in a space 120 years ago fascinates me, and that's what draws me in. That's what draws me in.
That part is exactly what I wrote in my review. That allowed me to understand the kind of like the wider circumstance that came with the idea of proclamation, freeing the slaves, freeing the serfs. They're just called serfs over there. There's more to just this binary of, oh, we want freedom and slavery was bad. There's also that perspective like, wait, y'all don't know what's out there waiting for us. This whole idea of freedom, yeah, y'all got certain rights, but do y'all want to have those type of rights in this place? Like, y'all got to be little masters and servants. And for our masters to be who they is, they had to go through some shit. Y'all sure y'all want to be on that type of time?
And it reminds me of Professor Drake's class when we got to talking about belonging, right? Like where you belong. I mean, because it's the turn of the century and things are changing. Where is your place in society if you don't have a belonging, if you're not owned by something or someone? And thinking that coming from under that rulership, there's going to be an automatic adjustment and a place made for you just because you're emancipated. It's just not the truth. And I think that's what the similarity of what was going on in Russia and what it was going on at the United States.
Oh,
I mean, different, obviously they have their own nuances,
everywhere.
but the idea of servitude and being owned and having a servant or a slave is interesting to me in different countries, and I appreciate that perspective.
Yeah, because it allows me to see our perspective here. It's the same system, and since we're all humans, we're gonna react and respond to it in a similar way according to where we are of the class system that was created for us to act within society. It was eye-opening, and again going back to like it being eye-opening, but delivered as a joke, not delivered with this seriousness, not delivered with these connotations that it's just, here it is.
Let me ask you something. So I know that like farce and like satire is like your thing. Do you find that maybe generally the information that is heavy or dank, that if it's delivered in a lighter form, that it can be digested better and internalized smoother?
Make it simple first. Make these concepts that you're delivering to people, make it simple first, then get deep. I think oftentimes as we get older and this idea of being indoctrinated into a new awareness, whether that be learning a new spirituality, learning a new trade, there's this this like complication that comes with it that makes it damn near like how we were talking earlier about the Bill of Rights or the Constitution being just one big code. Yeah, that had me thinking. Yeah, and that's why they have.
Who said that?
You said that.
I did.
And they have a system, aka go to university, learn how to decode. That's what science is. That's what astrophysics is. So to deliver something first as simple and plain as, all right, some shit was going on. Turn of the century, Industrial Revolution, Russia. Now for me, coming from a different culture, Russia, like I don't know shit about Russians. Now I know, wait a second, they was dealing with the same shit. Oh wait, the whole world was dealing with the same shit. World War I.
In their own respective places.
So now I could understand what we were going through as a collective during these times versus just having one perspective saying this and then another perspective, you know, that binary of politics.
It's hard to make connections globally. I don't know if you remember, like in grade school, where they would be like, you would have social studies and then be like global studies, or basically they would try to make connections to what was happening in this country to other things in the world. And I always found that it was, I couldn't quite understand what they were saying. So I would tell my mom, like, Mama, this is what we're learning about. And she would say, oh, and then she would make it simple. She would just break it all down. Like, oh, this is what's happening here. This is how it connects. And then that's how, like when we were talking about the Industrial Revolution, how things were becoming more industrialized. And she was like, that was a global thing, right? And so that changed how people worked. That changed how they used the sun or, you know, daylight. She said it changed leisure time. It changed how people function as a family when the world became more industrialized. And I was like, well, why the teacher did not say? Why did the teacher not say that?
Why she didn't say it like that?
But that is because it was made complicated. And so I'm thinking, well, if we're children, you would think that they would want to simplify it so that we can understand the similarities to be able to grapple with larger concepts.
But no, we can't because we need to do assessments. We need midterm. We need to see if our system is so, you know, that goes into its own.
To standardize and all
right,
that.
Standardize.
But the concept though, right? Because we're talking about, because this is a skill set. Now we're talking about building skills. If I can understand a smaller concept and break it down and make it simple, then I'll have the ability to be able to grapple with larger concepts and break those things down and interrogate those things, right? Using that evaluation, assessment process. And I think that that's something that children do naturally have, but it is taught out of them.
Damn. So how do we
and we're
reverse
using
that?
And shall we use theater?
We have to use theater because this is what's in our wheelhouse. A very wise woman introduced the term wheelhouse to me, and her name is escaping me, but I want to give her all the love, you know. It's in our wheelhouse. And she introduced
it to me, very wise woman.
And it's in our wheelhouse to do that. And she told me, so thank you, Mama. So I am paying attention to farce. I am paying attention to the form. We're dealing with some heavy content. I'm dealing, when I write play, I want to deal with heavy contents. How do I simplify? So there's an access point.
That's right.
Comedy is always going to be an access point.
That's right.
And the more you laugh, you're like, wait a second, what am I laughing at? Why is this funny?
You know what that reminded me of? I never really got into like movies and parodies. Like that was it. Or parodies and movies like Deadpool and all that. That's not my thing.
Yeah.
But I love a good comedy show. And if you got a good comedy show, the comedian is going to make fun of some of the most crucial information. And I always think about like, wow, I never thought about it like that. It's bringing it from a different perspective. But it also is challenging me to maybe look at how I relate to it or don't relate to it and grapple with it just a little bit more than what I normally would. And I think that that's all through comedy. Because if it's put on, and it's like children too, like when you're teaching them something and it's so hard and it's so heavy, tune it out. Wah, 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 wah. Use TikTok though.
Yeah.
Bring TikTok in.
Yeah.
They're like, bombs? Okay, we can talk about bombs.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Ukraine. Yeah. And then, you know,
right.
But it's something that they can relate to, right? And it's kind of like a fun element. And how do we use our craft to simplify that and bring it to the public and bring it to community?
Speeding things up, and to what you were saying about how quick the Cherry Orchard performance was. That's the brilliance of the director. And the brilliance of the actors as well. That's brilliance of I never had a moment of like, ugh. I
never did.
Act 1 ended. I'm like, all right, Act 2, let's go. I've never been excited for Act 2. I don't remember the last time I was excited for Act 2 of a show that maybe I've already seen before. Like, oh, I know what's going to happen. This is a new show. Yeah, I've heard about it, but this is a new show, and I was excited for Act 2.
What really piques my interest or what I was struck by is this conversation. I mean, we're talking about anti-racism in Professor Dre's class, anti-racism theater, and one of the comments that was made in the class from someone, they were saying, "Oh, we're still doing cherry orchard. Like we shouldn't still be doing cherry orchard." And so I think that I'm pretty sure it did influence me going into this, thinking, "Oh, it's going to be dry. I'm probably not going to be able to relate to it." Mm-hmm. And then looking at it like how the director did the adaptation, how the director really changed up the speed, got the actors did the physicality and really brought it to life in a different way, really helped me understand more of what was going on in a different country and then relate it to what's going on here. But to me, using those skills and techniques can do that. Yeah. Theater has the power to do that. So we can, let's say, put on some of the same things that maybe we've been putting on before, but how do we change it up to where it can speak to a different perspective, I guess, or speak in a different way.
In a different generation, 120 years from now. That's genius. That's where brilliance is going to come in. That's where creativity, that's where excellence comes in.
Ooh, excellence.
I know. I'm just throwing that word around. It surprises me. I never used that word before. It's not like I grew up like excellent, but it's like recently just thinking, what is excellence?
If I could be honest, the excellence, when I was younger, scholarship and excellence, whatever they beat it in your head.
Yeah.
But when I was an undergraduate, I was doing a lot of different things. And a wise woman said to me, she said, "Chanel, you're doing all of these things and we think that you're wonderful. We do. But how many of them are you doing with excellence?" And it made me, I was a little like offended, like, what? You saying I'm lackluster? And I think I did say that. I think I was like, I got offended, like, oh, so you're saying I'm basic. And she was like, no, what I'm asking you is, no, how many of them do you believe that you're doing with excellence? And it made me sit down to think about what excellence meant to me. Because she didn't implant what she thought excellence was.
Yeah.
She asked me. So I think that's something that we should ask ourselves is how we may be doing a lot of different things, but how many of them are we doing with excellence? I mean, we know that excellence is going to be defined differently. Like, I get that. That excellence is going to be defined differently, but I think it's something that should be thought about. Yeah.
When we're creating it ourselves. Now, that was like the pushback that I got was like, well, who's creating this standard? There was another system that was creating a standard, and people got so caught up in what that system was, they forgot that they can just create their own system of excellence. So and again, this is just rewording what we're all saying in our generation, like being our best selves, being our higher self, being our, living our best life.
Yeah.
So let's standardize that for ourselves. What does that mean? I know when I wake up at this time, I feel good. I know when I eat this meal, I feel good. I know when I'm with this person. And not to say like that's excellence, but that's just our own standard of being our best self or our own standard. And then how can we apply that to our art? Okay, I know what making this kind of art makes me feel X, Y, and Z. And then treat your work as that. Treat yourself as that.
And I think that perspective cuts out the excuse and the bullshit. Because I think that sometimes we can get caught up in this is like this and this is like that and people always say this and then there may be structures put in place, but what are you doing to ensure that things are being changed, that the narratives or stories that you want to see out there are getting out there? If you're just complaining about it and you're not really doing anything that is within your wheelhouse to make some kind of change, then they're just excuses. And I don't got time for excuses personally. Time is of the essence. Some people are not here to make their dreams come true. I'm grateful to be here in this position and to be practicing. And it feels like putting on a new hat at the same time too. It feels very new, and we were talking about like the scariness factor to it. But it's like, man, just showing up is that experience. And just showing up to some theater is just that experience as well. Being able to have your own filter, like your own lens of like what it is that you're producing or what it is that you're viewing. And a lot of people go to shows just to support the people that they're, that's in it. And that's fine and cool and dandy. But in order to support this art form and support the people, who this is like their dream, they're making it happen, like going in and supporting maybe just some random theater. Like, I wouldn't have known about the Cherry Orchard performance if it wasn't for Michael. Neither would I. But I will say this too. We are theater lovers. And it makes me think about individuals who are not theater lovers. And if the intention is just to see somebody that's in the show, more times than not, I think that people get more out of it than what they expected. But I think it's the perspective that people go into those productions. If your mind is open to saying, oh, okay, let me pay attention to the program. Let me pay attention to my surroundings. Let me see, which actor is playing what. Pay attention to the set and things of that nature in the atmosphere. Even if you don't agree with it, it's still all information to take in. So that for the next one, you can say, well, I didn't care too much for the lighting in that theater or that scene or that area, but I do think that in this one I like this. I like how this stage was set up. I like that we were level, that the stage wasn't elevated. Like taking in those things, I think that level of observation and openness is how the appreciation of theater can grow for someone who isn't a theater lover.
Yeah, and that's a part of what we're doing here at 7 Stages.
It is. And listen,
the Cherry Orchard.
Orchard.
What are your final closing thoughts?
I am thinking about directing and how a director truly can change the perspective of how a show is put on. And I don't know if I thought about it quite that way like I did with Cherry Orchard. And I appreciate that. And how Forrest has the ability to make those connections. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I agree. Thank you for making it palpable. Like, thank you to the whole team. Like, everyone from the lighting designer, sound designer, to the actors, costumes. Like, it was very much.
And for using the entire space.
Yeah.
They used the entire space that could be used.
Yeah.
I appreciate that because that also felt like a piece. I know we are wrapping up, but it felt like a piece of immersive theater.
Yeah.
Them going up and down the audience stairs as their entrance and exit. It's
like the performance never stops.
It never stops.
Never stops.
Yeah.
The performance never stopped. The biggest takeaway would be the story. Like all of that. I had so many access points to understand the story, to take something away.
Yeah.
To be entertained first and foremost.
Come on, entertainment.
But to really make that connection to what it is that we're experiencing in this function machine called society. Society and our position and our role in it.
And there should be appreciation at each point.
For sure. Well, I am Jan Boom Boom.
And I am Coco Chanel.
And this is 7 Stages.
Shall we end with some zip, zap, zop?
Shall we end with some WWWs for me? Yes. All right, you ready?
You know what, y'all? I'm going to need all y'all energy today. Okay. Because we doing this here.
All right, and I just need y'all to know I'm going to win. You ready?
I'm going to win.
Let's go. You want to breathe?
I don't like, no.
Okay. Do you have a pre-ritual you want to do?
I don't.
Oh, okay, then let's get into it. Shall I say zip?
Zap.
Zop.
Zip.
Zap.
Zap.
All right.
No.
One more. That's 2 out of 3.
Okay. Zip.
Zap.
Zop.
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 Zip.
Zip.
Zap.
Damn!
Ah!
Oh, that was good. I had a run for your money. Say I didn't.
But my money long. So we good. All right, Jab Boom Boom and Coco Chanel, we is out.
Out.